Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast, your free weekly resource to make you a better fitness business leader. I'm JT, the boss of Active Management, and I'm pumped with the rest of the Active Management team to be the premier sponsor again in 2017. Doing this helps us achieve our why in business, which is to reduce the healthcare costs across the globe, so we love supporting it. Between you and us, we can get more people moving and more often. So let's get our hustle mode on. No matter where you are listening in the world, make sure you check out www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for an extra special business resource to free up time for you so that you can then do what you love. Okay, enough from me. Who's on this week's show, Chantel?
Hey Tribe, thank you so much, JT. This week I'm speaking to Andrew Watson from the County Sports Partnership Network in the UK. Now, the CSP Network is a nationwide group of 44 county sports partnerships, and they all share a common goal, which is improving lives by growing grassroots sport and physical activity. I want to give you a bit of an idea about what that network consists of, because they've got some really big goals that they've set out to achieve by 2020. We're talking about getting 500,000 or more adults regularly participating in sport, reducing the number of adults that are inactive by 250,000, and get this, getting 1 million young people more active. Some goals that I'm sure you can agree are very, very important. And what I loved about talking to Andrew was hearing how they've built specific programs that appeal to a broad range of demographics. So groups like corporates, young adults, children, and the disabled. So during the interview, he goes into detail about how they've created the National Workplace Challenge, and he shares some of the results that they've gotten and gives us tips on how a fitness facility could establish and run your own workplace challenge. And we're going to take a quick look at some of those other demographics as well during the chat. Also, make sure you stay tuned for later in the show when Steve Ayres drops by to tell us about the latest news from ABC Financial. ABC Financial leads the health and fitness industry in software and payment processing solutions. If you want your business to thrive with the most advanced club management software, comprehensive payment processing, and customer service that is second to none, choose ABC Financial. Request a demo at www.abcfinancial.com. Tribe, as you know, finding the right guests and the right topics is really, really important part of our show, because I want to make sure that we're always interviewing people that will add value to your business and make sure that we're always giving you information to strengthen your business. So if you ever have any suggestions or requests on guest speakers or topics, please make sure you email me. My email address is chantal@fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. This week's flashback show is show 22 with JT from Active Management, and we talked about focusing your attention on human resources and why not to rely on traditional demographics for your marketing. So if you missed that show, you can check it out. It is show 22, and you're going to find it on iTunes or at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this week's guest is Andrew Watson. He is the project manager for the National Workplace Challenge, which is an initiative from the County Sports Partnership Network in the UK. So when I was chatting to Andrew, I started off by asking him to tell us more about the CSP network.
Yeah, so we're a national network in England, and we're a charity mainly funded by Sport England, and our work is all about growing grassroots participation in sports and physical activity. So as the national organisation that I work for, we represent the national network of 45 county sports partnerships that operate across England, and each of those organisations is independent and they have their own governance and own priorities, but all collectively working together towards the same aim.
Andrew, do you want to maybe set the scene for us and give us a bit of an idea of what the current activity stats are like for the UK?
Yeah, so really in terms of our work with workplaces, we're trying to kind of make that case pretty clear. And basically we know that over a third of men are not active enough for it to be good for their health. Over 40% of women 20% of men are classified as physically inactive, and again, a higher percentage of women that are inactive. People now are less active than they were in the 1960s. It costs our economy billions of pounds every year. And we know that physical inactivity contributes to death. So it is a big issue, and it is actually a life and death issue, because by helping people to be more healthy and more active, we can help them to have kind of a better quality of life and a longer life, which in turn kind of reduces demand on the healthcare system, etc. And the reason that we're looking at the workplace is because we spend a large percentage of our lives in work, and basically that represents a great opportunity to kind of have that conversation with people about being healthier, but also to help them to fit some activity in and around the working day as well.
Andrew, what's the relationship between the CSP network and gym providers, would you say?
So with the gym providers, we would really work with them at a local opportunity. And our network, one of our strengths is the fact that we have the connectivity into a whole range of local providers of sport and physical activity. And obviously, gym operators or facility operators are a part of that. So that could be private gyms, or it could be publicly funded local leisure centres and sort of large national leisure operators that we work with. And we'll really be working with them to help to connect their local communities and to get as many people as possible using those facilities, but also to help them to understand who their communities are and how they can kind of tailor their offer to kind of get as many people from across their community involved and active, really.
That's excellent. So do you want to give us a bit of an overview of some of the programs that you actually run?
Yeah, so the program that I'm involved in is the Workplace Challenge, and that's been funded by Sport England, and that's really around getting more workplaces active. But we've also run a program called Community Games, which was a legacy program from the London 2012 Games, and really that was about kind of creating a brand which raised the profile of community events. And they didn't have to be purely around sport and physical activity. It could be any community event taking place, but it needed to have a active element to it. And we know that there's been some really good success and lots of people that have taken part in those events. County sports partnerships also help with the delivery of the school games programme, which is part of the government's plans to ensure there's a competition pathway for all young people in schools. And they've also delivered on the Sport of 8 programme, which is helping young people aged 14 to 25 or 11 to 25 now to get involved in sport and physical activity and creating those links between school sport and community sport as well.
That's great. Now, Andrew, one of the reasons that I wanted to get you on today was to talk more about the Workplace Challenge, and we have touched on it briefly already, but I was hoping you could maybe paint a bit of a picture for us, maybe a little bit more specific, and talk us through the program, talk us through sort of the online and offline components. Can you just set the scene for us a little bit on that?
Yeah, so the program has been running originally since 2012, where it was developed by one of the county sports partnerships, Leicestershire and Rutland Sport. And through some funding that we received from Sport England through their Get Healthy, Get Active fund, we've been able to scale that up into a national program. And as you said, it's a combination of online and offline. So through the website, we can provide information. And as I said before, it's about connecting those workplaces to local opportunities and kind of really benefiting from the expertise of the local county sports partnerships. And then the other part of the online is that we have kind of an activity tracking function where employees can track all of the sport and physical activity, and that all populates leaderboards so that they can compete against other individuals, but also as a workplace against the other workplaces that are involved. And then the offline part is really around how the county sports partnerships can work with local providers such as gyms and leisure operators to provide those opportunities for workplaces to get active in and around the working day. We've also done some workplace champion training. So we've trained over 1,000 workplace champions through our work with the British Heart Foundation and their Health at Work team. And those champions are points of contact within the businesses who are really kind of driving the program forward and encouraging their staff to be more active as well. As part of the programme, there's been an independent piece of research which has been done by the British Heart Foundation National Centre for Physical Activity and Health at Loughborough University. And that research has been looking at the impact of the programme in terms of getting inactive people active, and also building up the business case or evidence base for the role that sport can play in reducing health inequalities, and also the economic business case, so the return on investment for employers for having an active workforce as well. So hopefully that kind of covers everything in a bit of detail there for you.
It does. And with that particular research report that you're talking about, are there any more sort of findings that you can share with us in regards to, reduced absenteeism in the workplace, that type of thing?
Yeah, so to date, we've had around 60,000 employees from about 8,000 workplaces across England signing up and taking part. And through the research, we know that there's been an increase in participation. About 25% of the 60,000 people are classed as inactive at baseline. So we know we've got kind of quite a large proportion of inactive people active as well. Our evaluation findings are also showing a reduction in absenteeism and presenteeism, and also improved mental health and wellbeing scores. And what we've done is kind of put all of the findings from the report that was produced in 2016 into a manifesto document, which is a call to action essentially. And you can get that from our website if people are interested in those findings and the kind of bit more detail about how we're trying to encourage more employers to get behind this agenda as well.
That's great. We'll definitely include that link in the show notes. So, Andrew, has there been any one particular business or company or department that has been an absolute star performer as part of the program?
Yeah, so we've had a real mixture of employers that have been involved, ranging from public sector organisations to kind of private sector businesses and manufacturing organisations. And just a couple of quick examples are Northumbria NHS Trust is the hospital in that area, and they've done an annual physical activity campaign where they've used the workplace challenge to run a beat the board challenge where the staff are invited to compete against their board members in a campaign. And they've had about 300 people that take part in that challenge and get active around that campaign. Another example is a manufacturing business called Carlisle Brass, and they've really got behind the campaign, organising lots of activities for their staff, getting them involved in the online challenges and stuff. So a whole range of different businesses really, but those are just a couple of examples.
I'm going to take a guess that probably there are some of our listeners out there that may have tried to run or implement a workplace challenge of sort, or a corporate challenge within their own businesses. Given your experience in the area and the success that you've had, do you think you could give us a couple of tips that you might give to a commercial facility if they did want to run, a successful workplace challenge?
Yeah, I think because we have kind of a impartial view, I think it's perhaps an easier sell for us to the employers. And I think if the gym operators could find a similar sort of friend almost that could be based within an organisation that is kind of from a trusted source and funded by a partner like we are by Sport England, I think that can really help to get some credibility. And then I think from our learning, it's that combination of an online and offline program, which is really powerful. And that's what supports the behaviour change. So it enables people to set themselves some goals, to get some feedback around the activity that they're doing. But through those offline opportunities, it's about giving them the right opportunities in a way that they can fit some activity around the working day. So I think for a gym, my advice would be to kind of understand the employer's needs and the needs of their employees, and then to maybe try and take the activity to the workplace initially. So we've got some really good examples of where gym operators have provided taster sessions or health checks in workplaces, and maybe run lunchtime exercise classes, but as a way to introduce the gym staff to the employees. And then following on from that, they've put on a special offer with maybe bespoke sessions just for that workplace in the gym, and an introductory offer maybe for the staff to kind of get them signed up and becoming gym members. So I think that would be my advice. And then off the back of that, I think it's really important to show some return on investment to the employer as well. So there's lots of statistics out there, and just being able to quantify that into, well, if your staff are now active, they're going to be more motivated, they're going to be off sick less often, and those kind of things. And you can start to put that into costs or a return on investment for the business then.
That is great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Andrew. Now, I did want to touch on a couple of your other programs, because it's more than just the workplace program. Do you want to tell us briefly about Sportivate?
Yes, Sportivate is a national programme which was funded by Sport England, and county sports partnerships have been key to the delivery of that. So really their role has been essentially getting the funding for those projects down to the community level where that funding is really going to make a difference. So they're working with national governing bodies of sport and local sports clubs. And since 2011, there's been nearly 50,000 Sportivate projects with over 640,000 young people across England completing those projects. And they've been really about kind of getting young people into sport around the sporting day and connecting them into local sports clubs and trying to give them a non-traditional take into getting involved in sport and creating that regular habit of taking part.
That sounds great. Now, I really love the look of the community games program. Do you want to tell us briefly about that one?
Yeah, so as I said, it's a legacy program from the 2012 Games, and it's been about connecting local community events to sport and physical activity, and using the kind of power of that to really raise the profile and get more people involved. And to date, there's been over 90,000 volunteers that have delivered those events, and over 3 million people that have taken part in those events. So yeah, it's a really kind of good example of kind of community and sport coming together and getting their communities more active and involved, really.
And Andrew, I believe that you run programs that are specific for disabled people. Is that correct?
Yeah, so a core part of the work of County Sports Partnership is creating inclusive opportunities for all of their communities. And obviously part of that is about making sure that there's good provision for disabled people in across England as well. So that ranges from specific targeted disability sports opportunities, working with organisations like the English Federation of Disability Sport, or some of the national governing bodies like British Wheelchair Basketball, who are providing those opportunities for disabled people. But also it's an education thing, and that's where county sports partnerships might work with partners like gyms to help them to get the Inclusive Fitness Initiative accreditation, or to have a look at their programming and how they can make their opportunities more inclusive, because sometimes just by making small adjustments can make the difference between somebody being included or somebody being excluded from taking part. And it's just about trying to think through how we can take a more inclusive approach to sport across the board, really.
Andrew, I'm going to guess that a lot of people are going to be quite inspired by what we've talked about today, and probably keen to check out a little bit more about the CSP network. So for any of our tribe that are listening from the UK, and of course from outside the UK, if you do want to check out, have a look at that website, that About Us page that we did mention earlier, and the programs that Andrew shared with us today. You can, of course, jump onto their website, which I believe, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, is cspnetwork.org.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Tribe, make sure you jump on and check out that website. So, Andrew, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I'm not going to let you go just yet, because I do have one more favour to ask you, and that is, I'm hoping you might be able to give us your Fitbispiration and tell us your top 3 tips for running a program that will inspire and will motivate and engage non-exercisers to move more. I can't wait to hear those tips from Andrew, but first, let's hear from our friends at Precor. Looking for industry insights to grow your business? Precor can help. Head to precor.com/fitness business podcast for ebooks, guides, tools, and much more. Now let's go back to Andrew as he leaves us with his top tips for getting non-exercisers to move more.
Yeah, so I think our research showed that the biggest barrier to people getting active around the working day is inflexible working practices. So we know that there's a massive issue there in changing the culture in workplaces. And obviously that can't be done by any one organisation. But I think the way that we can help people to be active is to provide opportunities so that they can fit some bite-sized activity in and around the working day. And I think my advice would be to consult with employers and their employees, find out about what activity they want to do, when they want to do it. And as I said, kind of take the gym to their workplace and shape the offer around them if you can. And obviously try and get some continual feedback. Take your quick wins. If you get kind of a success story, shout about that and promote that where you can. And I think being a collaborative organisation, I would say try and work in partnership. And our approach is trying to work with any organisation that is kind of shares our aims and is keen to kind of help their communities to be more active. So I think that kind of open approach is where we're going to collectively have the greatest impact and reach, really.
I love it. Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been such an eye-opener to hear about the work that you're doing there in the UK, and I hope that lots of our tribe take inspiration from what you've been doing. And I think, as I mentioned to you right at the beginning of the show, I feel like, it's not about you doing one thing and Jim and us doing another. It's about the big picture and how we can work together to achieve the overall result. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey and your information with us today. And thank you for joining us on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you. And I think final comment would just be that obviously we're open-minded and we'd like to hear ideas and views from others as well. And I'm sure there's kind of great work that's going on through your listeners. So if anybody does want to kind of get in touch or has any ideas about how we can all work together, we'd love to hear from them as well.
Absolutely. And what I'll do, Andrew, if you're happy for me to, is we'll not only put the website address, but a contact email perhaps that you would be happy to share with our tribe. That would be great.
Pre-Core Quickfire 5.
Tribe, it's my absolute pleasure to be introducing today's guest. It is John Bellamy. He is the co-founder and CEO of Direct Messaging. Welcome along to the show, John.
Thanks, Chantel. Thanks for having me.
Now, we've got your Pre-Core Quickfire 5 questions up front. Are you ready for the questions?
Let's go.
Okay, question number 1. Tell us, why do you do what you do?
For me, I just love helping people get inspired and take action with what they absolutely love in their life. That's what I do it.
And what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Keep it dumb and boring and just follow one simple process.
And what's a personal habit that helps you become better at what you do?
Oh, definitely beach time, just to unwind and get my feet in the sand. It's a must.
That's a great habit. And what's one book that you'd recommend and why?
One book is Total Money Makeover by the Dave Ramsey. It's just solid for a base understanding around cash flow and cash management.
That sounds like a good one. And tell us, why should our tribe come back next week and listen to the main interview?
Well, I mean, if you want to go and generate more leads, generate more conversations and ultimately grow your business, this is the place to be.
Excellent. Now, tribe, next week when John comes back, we are going to be talking all around LinkedIn. And I know that it's something that you guys need to know or want to know a whole lot more about. So I can't wait to welcome John back next week and get you back so we can really dive into some of those areas and find out how we should be utilizing LinkedIn much, much better than what we currently do. John, thank you so much for joining us today on the Pre-Core Quickfire 5.
Most welcome.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
Tribe, it's with great pleasure that I say a very warm welcome back to the Chief Revenue Officer of ABC Financial, Steve Ayres. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back on the show. So you're joining us today to give us a bit of an update and tell us what's happening with ABC Financial over the next 6 months.
Next 6 months are going to be really good for us. Heading into URSA, we get to feature 2 new products that we have. We have a data track. Our software's now being launched in Spanish version. And we also have just integrated with Micros, the restaurant software. So doing some expansions throughout the U.S. and through North America. And with these 2 new launches will be very good for our customers.
That's really exciting. In fact, I saw you guys doing a lot of advertising in the lead up to URSA. So it sounds like it's going to be a very big event for you.
It seems like IHRSA is a very good show for us. Always has been. It's good to get back and meet up with some potential customers and see our friends and our customers from throughout the years. So IHRSA is a big time for us.
Exciting. That's really good. Well, what we're going to do is we'll make sure that we put information about those launches that you just shared with us, and we'll make sure that we put some links in the show notes. So, Tribe, if you want to go on and check that out and see what ABC Financial are getting up to in the months ahead, then you can head straight to the show notes in today's show and you can check out those links. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Always great to have you on the show, and I'm sure we'll hear from you again very soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded, and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget, all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.